So fresh.
Alright, let's talk about how the furry social experience is changing, specifically with regards to furry conventions. Something that I've noticed in the past few years or so with regards to attending furry conventions is I've found myself in a bit of a routine with how I go about doing cons. And now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having a certain routine to doing cons. There's no wrong way to really do it. Like, if you're having a fun time at a convention, it's not time wasted. That's just the way I see it. And my routine for like the 3 to 4 to 5 days that I'm at a furry convention goes as follows. I wake up, I get ready for the day, go and get coffee, meet up with friends. We'll usually after that explore the con space, whether we're going to register for the con, go and see who's fursuiting out and about, go to the dealer's den. If we're feeling hungry, we go and get lunch or something. And then eventually leads into the evening, where after that we get dinner, we go and party in someone's room, maybe we check out the dance, and maybe somewhere in between all these points we fursuit around for maybe 4 hours tops. But once we've done all that with the food, with hanging out, with partying, I go to bed and then I wake up the next morning to repeat the same process. So pretty much my furry convention routine, and what I really hope to achieve with going to these cons, is not to really experience the convention as in the events itself, but I mainly go to see friends that I haven't seen for a while, get to spend time with them, and on the second point, getting good food wherever the furry convention is, if there's good food in the area, and the final one is just fursuiting or partying. Preferably fursuiting. I'll put partying as like a fourth one. So these are like the 4 things that I go into a furry convention with hoping to achieve. And usually within the first day, I end up achieving all 4 of those things. And then I repeat all 4 of those things for the next few days throughout the con. And this goes from like Thursday morning to Sunday evening of every furry convention I've been to for the past 5 years. And I've realized that this is sort of the routine that I found myself in. Now, is this routine bad? No. Everyone has their own idea of how they want to spend a furry convention, and that's how I like to spend mine. So the lesson here is spend the furry convention however you would like. You know, it's not time wasted if you're having a good time at the end of the day. Remember that. And like I said, this routine that I found myself in isn't bad, but I've started to self-reflect with it, especially in the wake of certain issues that may arise with trying to attend all these furry conventions in hopes of hanging out with or seeing certain friends of mine. Probably one of the biggest things at the moment is cons are really expensive. Like, traveling, going to and from places is extremely expensive. It's not cheap to be able to do like maybe 2 or 3 cons a year. I remember back in the day, this is like a boomer moment, I remember back in the day, like in all honesty though, I remember I could go to a furry convention back in like 2018 or 2019 with like $500 to my name and still come back with $100 left over. I'm not even joking. You could do that. It was great. It was awesome. But nowadays, like some cons, I can't even go to it without dropping $1,000 at the door just to like pay for the flights or the room. That's not even factoring into account like the con registration, any things that I might want to get throughout the con, and any other amenities that I might need. It's also funny because I know I already did a video on how to save money at furry conventions if you're going to one, which I don't even know if that's out at this point. I'm still working on it, sort of. But realistically, traveling to events and conventions like this is pretty expensive. It's not cheap. That's just how things are now. And pair that as well with furry conventions growing more and more each year, which that's not a bad thing either. That's awesome. I love seeing furry conventions grow. However, that means it's going to be a lot more challenging to get the room that you might want. Say you want a hotel room in the main hotel of the con, so you can either like host a party with friends, you know, make it easy to get to and from the con space, make it easier for you to fursuit, whatever it may be. Chances are you might not get that room because of more people wanting to go to cons. Chances are you might not even get a room for a con with how many people want to go to cons. And again, these aren't bad things. This isn't me complaining. This is just an observation that I have that might lead to inconveniences with wanting to attend cons and have these social experiences like I mentioned earlier. So that's why I've been kind of thinking there's got to be some alternative to this, especially if you're in my shoes and all you're looking to do is spend time with friends, get some good food, and maybe fursuit and party. Now, the first alternative is to just go to a small convention. As much as it might be easier and more convenient for everyone to go to a bigger furry convention at a certain time of the year because the energy and vibes are awesome, small cons can be a good alternative, especially if you're just looking to hang out with a small core group of friends, or maybe a big core group of friends, many different groups of friends. You all can end up getting a bunch of rooms, maybe a suite or something, and you end up just hanging out with one another all weekend. That's not bad. I've done that before, and it's pretty great. The other alternative I can think of is putting on your own little friend get-together during a weekend, where say you have like a good core group of friends, like maybe 10 to 20 people, and you all want to spend time with one another. You could put together a weekend where you all rent out an Airbnb, or you have some friend who has the accommodating space to host for the weekend, or hell, maybe you're able to rent out like a cabin in the woods or something where you all want to hang out, do pretty much everything that you would want to do at a furry convention, but without the furry convention. I've seen this happening more and more, especially on furry Twitter, where like friends or mutuals of mine are putting together these mini cons for close friends where they'll all get together during a weekend, whether it's during a con weekend or another more convenient weekend for everyone, where they all just pretty much do what you do at a furry convention, minus the dealer's den or minus panels or anything. Because you got to keep in mind that some people go to furry conventions just to hang out with friends. They don't do the furry convention experience. I've had that happen multiple times personally, where I have registered for the con and didn't do any event at the con. Now, just as an example of some of these friend cons or mini cons that I've seen happen in the past few years, I've actually been a part of a few of them, one happening semi-recently, and the other happening like about half a decade ago. The first one that I partook in was a friend con known as SawCon. It's a very awesome name, I will say that. But what started as just like a fun little weekend get together with friends to hang out, spend time with one another, ended up becoming more of that, but it just evolved into more friends building up. And so from what started as a just simple weekend with a few friends in someone's house, it ended up being where a bunch of friends got together and rented an Airbnb for a weekend. And we took some time to go and explore downtown Seattle, or go and get some great food with one another, or fursuit around the huge Airbnb we had access to. For one of the most recent friend get-together mini-cons that I was a part of, it was pretty great. I had an awesome time. It didn't really replace any furry convention happening though. It was just more of a friend get-together in general, but it was still pretty great. Now the other one before that I ended up partaking in like nearly half a decade ago was this wonderful little friend get-together con called KiwiCon, which pretty much the story for that was a bunch of friends and I think this was like 10 to 20 people, wanted to end up getting like a suite or a few rooms at MFF. This is when I think they had introduced the room lottery system for the con, and we wanted to at least get like a suite or some sort of room so we could all like party, hang out. I think like 20 of us ended up applying for the lottery within like a bunch of different groups, and we ended up with just like one of those small little wedge rooms. It was a single king room that could fit maybe 3 people, which, hey, you know, I think that's pretty lucky within the grand scheme of like 20 people applying. But still, we weren't too happy about it. You know, still reasonable because the lottery system. But we were feeling like we didn't want to go scrambling for rooms or room spaces for the con to be able to attend MFF. So as an alternative, we thought like, why don't we just host a fun little friend get together during the same weekend as MFF? And then we called it KiwiCon. I had a good time, but the only sort of offset from it, which I feel like is a factor to take into mind with this, was I was having a bit of FOMO from not attending MFF. I wanted to attend the con. The only thing was like, if only I could take this experience and move it to MFF, it would have been perfect. It would have been great. But that's something to just keep in mind with regards to it. You know, if you have these friend events during cons as a replacement to say things don't work out with everyone being able to attend and you want your friends to be there and to spend time with them, there's the chance that you might get FOMO from not being at the con. And it did happen to me. But on the other hand, I had a wonderful time, and the good times offset the sort of FOMO that I was having. And those are pretty much the friend event weekend things that I've been a part of or partook in for the past few years. And I'm starting to see these happening more and more within recent years. And this is absolutely not a bad thing. I think at the end of the day, it's great because furries are choosing their own experiences they want to have with regards to furry. If they want to hang out with friends, that's awesome. They're hanging out with friends. What more could you want? But hey, this is just something fun I wanted to share today, and hopefully it's some good food for thought for you as well. It's interesting to see how the social landscape of furry is changing, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this video in the first place, just because this is an observation that I've seen where this one event, this one routine is happening more and more, and so furries are kind of putting on their own little events, not in retaliation of furry conventions, but, you know, just to still have a good time. Everyone's looking to have their own good time and find their own happiness, and honestly, it's really nice to see how things are changing in that matter. But that's about going to do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any other ideas you want me to talk about in this sort of video form, let me know. I need more practice with these commentary videos, so please. But that's about it for me. Hope you guys have a good one. Take care, and I will see you later. Bye, guys.